Hey everyone, Dawn here, and I am your Friday sub filling in for Chelsea or Cheggy X here on Our Pagan Opinions. Can you believe it's week 6 already? Season 2, and this week's topic is all about the legalization of marijuana. And the subscriber asked us to give us our thoughts on its use and should it be legalized. I like to point out a couple of things whenever this topic comes up. There are a few great resources available that you can go and research on your own. And one of them happens to be a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It is by Jack Harrar, and it has recently been published online, so anyone can access it for free. The web link is available in the description below. In this book, the author, Jack Harrar, details America's history with marijuana. And it is a really good, fascinating read, I think, because I learned so much about different things as it pertains to marijuana and, of course, American history itself. It's a detailed account of the propaganda campaign against marijuana, which took place in the 1920s. That because up until that point, marijuana was legal, and then when it talks about that whole campaign to criminalize it. In his book, he brings up the conspiracy of oil companies who, if you think about the time that this occurred in the 1920s, like late teens, early 20s, cars were first coming onto the scene, and gasoline that was used to fuel the engines of these cars was made by either oil, petroleum, or hemp, marijuana. And oil companies realized that they were competing with a natural substance, and no one could patent the production of hemp oil. So what ended up happening was hemp gasoline, hemp fuel, if you will. What ended up happening was these oil companies sent lobbyists to Capitol Hill in order to wine and dine the congressmen the congresspeople who were responsible, which at that time it would have been men. Yeah. Anyway, who were responsible for creating the laws. And what ended up happening was there were a bunch of arguments heard on the floor of Congress about how damaging marijuana is, how it, when smoked, it does bad things. It makes black men look at white women twice, and everyone should be afraid. And out of that came the Reefer Madness campaign, and just so many different things that were said about marijuana that swayed the opinion of the congressmen. They enacted the laws that made marijuana illegal. So if you want to know the history of why it became illegal in the first place, I highly recommend that you look up that book. It's available free online. Take a look. You won't be sorry. Some interesting factoids I learned from that is the fact that our founding fathers, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, actually compared notes about the cultivation of their own marijuana crops. They compared notes about the effects of different plants. They compared notes about the flavors of different plants. And so that was an interesting find in there. But my opinion is that legalizing marijuana has far greater benefits to our society as a whole than it does then it can, damaging effects. And the reason why is because when you look at just look at the health benefits of marijuana itself. I was on the WebMD website, and there's a list about a mile long of the different purposes marijuana is used for. Nausea, glaucoma, leprosy, dandruff, weight loss, painkiller, asthma, all of these different things. And it seems to me that it is kind of and it's just amazing to think that this little plant can help with so many different ailments. And it has such a bad name, and it's so sad to me that this beautiful plant has such a bad name. as far as, other social aspects of this plant, this herb, marijuana is already used in spiritual practices such as Rastafarianism, and is also used in different shamanic practices as well. And whenever the religious aspect is brought into play, I think from practitioners, there tends to be more of a level of reverence and respect given to the plant, which I think as it should be. Recently, Snoop Dogg converted to Rastafarianism, and there are jokes aplenty about why he did it because of his use of marijuana. It is already legal for specific spiritual practices, and Rastafarians happen to be one of those religions in which you can use marijuana for, where you can use it legally. And I know a couple of people who actually use marijuana for shamanic journeying, and they, well, at least one person has told me that it's not an herb to mess with when you are using it for that particular intent. Because marijuana its effect on the nervous system, it alters your sense of time and space. And when you're when you are doing a shamanic journey, you get that anyway. So it's kind of like a combined or more powerful effect. And it's something that must be carefully monitored, and not something to be overused or abused or taken in excess, because it's got a lot of power behind it, a lot of power. And when using it for that intent, it can throw you off if you're not careful. But I think that what I just said could be true of most any kind of drug, if you think about it. Alcohol and tobacco are both legal. Alcohol is far more damaging to the human body than marijuana is. It has long-range implications if it is abused. And even just drinking more than 2 glasses of wine a night can have huge health impacts. Even though it's legal in certain states, it is still a federal crime to possess or use marijuana if you have a medical marijuana card. So, interesting thing there, and it's time for us as a country, as a society, to have an open and honest debate on the legalization of marijuana itself, and to really consider how the benefits of this herb can impact us as a society. Health reasons, religious purposes, and also economic reasons. It's my understanding that Milton Friedman, the economist, he and 500 plus other economists in this country, or actually globally, wrote an open letter to the president and to Congress exclaiming, we need to have this conversation. We need to consider legalizing marijuana because it will help us get out of our economic rut. And the numbers that were pointed out in this letter, I'm just going to read off my notes here. It says the cost of incarceration for people who were busted with marijuana, who are imprisoned or put in jail, the cost of incarceration, $7.7 billion annually, just for marijuana-related charges. So if it were legalized, we'd see a decrease there. We'd also see a decrease of $2.4 billion in the expenditures related to prohibition enforcement. And if marijuana were legalized, taxed similarly to alcohol and tobacco, a conservative estimate is that it could generate $6.2 billion annually. That's a conservative estimate. I've seen other estimates upwards of $12 billion annually. So that's another link that I wanted to put down in the description below, and you can go and read that letter, the open letter to the president. For all of these reasons, I believe that marijuana should be legalized. I also believe, personally, I believe it should be legalized because um, what distresses me the most about having restrictions on plants is the fact that we live in a society, at least here in America, where you can turn on the television any given moment of the day and hear a pharmaceutical ad trying to sell their medicine. And then, as part of the law is that they have to describe all of the harmful effects of that medicine. And so here I'm, watching commercials for pharmaceutical companies, and I have this disturbing amount of side effects, anal leakage, ulcers, blindness, skin rashes, hair loss. If you experience any of these side effects, please consult your doctor immediately. How about no? How about I just don't take the damn drug in the first place? How about I go with something more natural for a painkiller, or appetite stimulant, or something that is not going to cause all of these crazy effects. It just floors me. And it doesn't matter what the drug is that the pharmacy is hawking. It's just, it's just amazing. It's just, I guess it's ironic and ridiculous at the same time. The other thing is that I use herbs in my daily practice. I am by no means a certified or licensed herbalist, but for my own personal uses, I use herbs. I have my own herb garden. I use herbs medicinally. And to me, I can make a concoction of lavender, chamomile, catnip, whatever, to relax myself and help me drift off to sleep. But I can't use marijuana for the same exact purpose. I don't like that. I guess I don't like being told that this plant is harmful to you, and therefore you cannot use it. To me, in my opinion, I grow wormwood, and I know that it also is dangerous when consumed unwisely or recklessly. I have consumed it before. Does that mean that it's not illegal, but the effects are more damaging or more harmful than smoking a joint, so it just bothers me. It really bothers me when it comes around to the whole herbalist aspect of growing your own herbs and taking care of your own health and taking a holistic approach to life. So it it bothers me that we can have these companies spending billions and billions of dollars advertising these chemicals that have been created in a lab and patented, which is the key here. Because they are patented, someone is making money off of them. Someone is guaranteed to be making money for a certain specific time period. Whereas with marijuana, you can't patent it, and therefore no one is guaranteed those profits. You can, however, legalize it, and the government can control it as far as taxation goes, and make profit that way, which would not be a bad thing in our sagging economy. So, anyway, that's just my opinion on the whole issue. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Blessed be. Mwah.